Good afternoon and welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Buzz. I'm Brendan Rendo and joined by Joseph Dion, who's had some extremely busy time over the past couple weeks. Glad to have you back.
Excited to be here. Right? I'm glad it's finally settling down a little bit. Well, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. I mean, we've still got a lot to go over. We got to go over the tariffs. What's going on there? What's happening in China? That's affecting things. We had some great numbers come out. We had the Jobless-claims come out today. Earlier this week, we had home sales come out. Today, we had the new home sales come out as well. And then some interesting news in the 10-year Treasury of what's going on with the mortgage, which is something we've talked about a lot over the past couple of years. So give us a second and welcome. All right, so let's get right off the bat. Tariffs and what's going on. So yesterday, a lot of people coming out saying Trump's, he's softening his stance with China. And, he's ready to fold. He's ready to give in.
I don't
see it.
And then, he kind of worded the other way of like, hey, we're not going to do this. Like, we're not like it's so amazing. Like the market is so hinging on everything he's saying. And it's very, very interesting to see that dynamic right now because he's able to, and whether it's intentional or not, he's able to change the markets just by saying very, very general things.
Like the sky's blue today?
So general. Like, hey, we're going to look to, tariffs won't be 145% for China. We're like, okay, well, we know that like at some point they're going to come down, but the market was like, oh my gosh, I love it. But then later on, he's just like, but we're not going to roll over. Like, we don't have to do anything. And I'm like, okay, like, well, where are we at? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. And you just, the market just this way, up and down. I know we're both into options, and boy, it kind of makes that market a total mess.
Creates a little volatility, which can be fun if you're on the right side.
If you're on the right side. Try and get on the right side, though. Wait for him to talk.
Right now, very difficult.
Exactly. But there's a lot of stuff going on in China that kind of, makes things a little difficult on who's going to blink first.
Yeah.
I really got the feeling China's going to blink first, and there's a couple different reasons.
Okay.
This is one area where they've kind of have an advantage on us, and that is right now, China holds about 1.32 trillion of mortgage-backed securities. That's a lot. So very similar to Treasury bonds, mortgages are packaged and put out there, and they have about 1.32 trillion. And they could start deciding to sell some of these mortgage-backed securities. And if they do that, that can force mortgage rates up. And that's one thing I've kind of been watching, seeing if we see any signs that they've been selling anything. None yet, but that's one of the cards they do hold in their deck right now.
Yeah, so that's a scary one for me. Scary one for you too. Yep. But it will be clear as day if they do start to.
Yes. Yeah, you'll know in a heartbeat. But on the other hand, this is what's happening right now, and this is one of the first times I've seen a mainstream format actually put that out there, is that the factories are slowing production in China, and they're actually starting to send people home during the day.
Oh,
so because we're their shelves, we're their marketplace. So if they've got no place to send anything they make, you're not going to have people go to the shop and start making things. You're going to start doing layoffs, and their unemployment rate for their youth is the highest it's been in years.
Mm.
Plus, they've still got the problems with their real estate market. They still haven't gotten over their real estate market. They still haven't done liquidations of their companies that had all these assets. It's been delayed.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple areas where right now, I just kind of wonder, can they hold out long enough? Because economically, I really think they're in a worse situation than we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, hey, they did report a 5.3% GDP growth last week.
Yeah, I believe that about as much as I believe some of our own statistics.
Yeah.
But they're still growing. They're not
Yeah.
factoring anything recently, but that is interesting because I think you and I have said this before. A lot of what I feel like is happening is it's kind of like, hey, we're trying to see who blinks first. Like,
Yep.
and we're playing a little bit of hardball, whether we say it or not. Like, I think that's kind of what's happening,
Yep. And I just don't see Trump being the one to blink. I don't. Does he have to hold out for another month or two? Maybe he does. But in the meantime, while the battle's going on with China, there's several other trade deals that are being put together right now. So he's gathered a lot of the world to our side, and it's negotiating. One of the big ones right now is South Korea. And working right now on that one with South Korea, and if we can pull that one off, I think that really helps us and gives us a much solider position. Because one of the things you saw in the past couple of weeks, which you haven't seen in several years, is China's chairman out visiting other countries trying to get the goodwill on their side. So they're both sides are working hard on different things.
Yeah, they're both trying.
Yeah, they're trying. But what it's done here to us is in the bond market. You see, this was April 2nd when the tariffs went into effect, and we had that initial downturn in the interest rates.
Yep.
Which is, I think we both thought that was going to happen, but then we came right back and did a huge spike.
And
right now we're sitting about 0.12 higher than we were when this whole thing started off, which is thankful because it's helped interest rates pull back a little bit. But I mean, for a week there, it was just, you're just sitting there watching it going, oh my gosh, if it breaks 4.5 again, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So we're starting to see that pullback. I think that's going to help loosen things up a little bit. But one of the things you and I have spoken about in the past is that spread between the 10-year T and what mortgage rates are. This is a great article I found today, actually, this morning, by Wall Street. And they actually have a great chart to show the difference of where the spread usually sits.
Yep.
You can see really between 1.5% and 2% is where the majority of the difference sits, right in that ballpark.
Exactly.
And then, but as recently like 2023, we saw that spike, and that was, a lot. I think a lot of it had to do with the uncertainties of the market, the Biden administration spending a ton of money, not knowing where interest rates were going to go. And we were slowly starting to pull back, but then again, the tariff war, we kind of lost that momentum downwards that we were seeing.
Yeah.
So right now we're sitting about 2.5% above what the 10-year T is sitting. So, but the good news on this, and I think this is great news, is I think if we get that settled, if over the next couple months we get that settled, here's the great thing, is the 10-year Treasury doesn't have to move for interest rates to get better.
We just need
All
this,
that has to
that
happen.
margin.
Yeah, is that margin starts to shrink. And I think you'll agree that a lot of that has to do with the security, less volatility. You know, your wholesalers, you know, your big guys, WUM, you know, I think they're gonna come back and start to feel a little more secure on what they need to do
Yeah.
as far as a spread.
And that's the hard part is we need small movements, right? You need it to be like, okay, it's gradually improving, but it's like you look at today, like, well, we'll go like yesterday. Yesterday MBS was up like 45 basis points, closed negative. So that's a huge swing. And then today we're up 30 basis points, and it's like, and it's holding, but it's like when you see this, whether it's in good, like if it's good or bad, like usually it hurts us because they're keeping that margins higher because they're like, well, we don't know where it's going to go.
We don't know where it's going to go. So we're not comfortable. Yeah. So we've got all this volatility in all the other markets. Once we start to pull that back in, I think we're going to see, you know, that margin start to shrink.
Yep.
And I think that could be what gets us back down into that 6%. This 10-year treat, maybe the 10-year only drops to say 4. But if our spread drops from 2.5 to 2, we're now at 6.
Yep. Much better position.
Much better position. And I think that's the good thing looking at this graph is that, hey, we were on a downward projection. You know, we do have the tariff war. It's kind of stalled it, back up a little bit, but get this done over the next 2-3 months. Maybe in the fall we can start seeing that shrink again.
Yep.
And that could be what pushes us down into that 6% range, which I think we'd see a lot of stuff come back active. I mean, when we start looking at what's, you know, where the market is right now, today, or excuse me, I think it was Tuesday, the existing home sales came out, and we saw that recede again to 5.49%, which they're projecting about 4 million sales this year, which that's a low number.
That's really low. Yeah.
It's a very low number. You know, they're still seeing a slight increase in prices. Orlando is actually one of the top 10 as far as price decreases right now. We're about 2.2% down over last year. So you see that. And then we got our new home sales, which same thing, you know, did go up 724,000, but the new home sales price has actually dropped. And this is an easy way to see it, but the new home sales prices have actually dropped over last year. They're down about 2%. And you just continuously see all the incentives being put out there by the builders. We actually came to contract with a client of mine for a brand new Pulte home. If we had bought the home last week and signed the contract last week, our incentives were $50,000. But because we had to come back and fix something, the incentive increased their incentive to $75,000. My client just got a $25,000
craziness. I love it.
It was the exact same price, but now they got an additional $25,000 in incentives. What did we do? Put it all towards closing costs. So now they're getting everything they want in the house, and their entire closing cost is paid for by the package.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
It's great for them. But it speaks to the bigger part of where the market is right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, every day I get the forms, the emails from the builders. And this is a separate video I need to do of all the price decreases and all the incentives that they're having. Because they're still doing all the incentives on the rates.
Yep.
And the ones who still have the design centers are still providing design center benefits. You're seeing $40,000, $50,000. I mean, and now $75,000. That is just wild, you know. But in the meantime, they're cutting down the number of starts that they're doing, which I think they have to because they've got roughly about 8 months worth of inventory right now. You got to clean that stuff up. You got to clean that stuff off. Get it off the books. That's a lot of inventory for home builders to carry.
Yeah,
it really is. So we got all that. And then our weekly numbers. Aura, I talked to them today, found out what's going on with my weekly numbers. I love that report. And
said not so fast. We don't.
Yeah, no, they're revamping it. They're trying to give it a much more modern look.
Okay.
Which that's okay. I can appreciate that. I like a modern look, to it. But this is Aura's numbers for the month of March. And you can see how much Aura covers. I mean, probably at least about a third of the state.
Yeah, that's overall. Actually, I didn't realize they covered that much of the state.
Yeah, it's. I mean, and some of the big markets. You got Orlando. They cover Tampa, Sarasota. So that's a lot of territory.
Yeah,
we had over 80,000 listings. So our listings from a year ago were up 29%.
Okay.
All right. New listings from a year ago were up 10%. Pending sales are flat, which kind of makes sense.
Okay.
Because we're pretty much the same numbers, as we were. Total sales over last year is down 2%, but we're up from February. I'm starting to see a lot more activity. I've got a couple different listings that was kind of quiet beginning of March. Seems like right after Easter, all of a sudden people kind of started coming back out again. So, but then look at this: our months of inventory, we're up 31%.
It's a big.
The whole Aura is sitting about 5 months worth of inventory.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot of inventory. Considering where, we had, a month worth of inventory a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, that was fun. Put it on,
you sneeze, it was sold.
Put it on, and you get 5 offers, in the first hour that something was listed. Yeah, that was crazy. So, but you're seeing it's interesting because my clients who are buying the Pulte home, they've got to sell their house. So we're getting that ready, getting that set to go on the market. And I actually did a spreadsheet of everything around it to calculate from the original to the actual sold price and pending set and active, how many days on market. And the decrease in pricing and on the sold, because 2 of them, they actually had over a 10% price decrease from the original list price.
Yeah, it's a big drop.
That's a huge drop. Huge drop. And then the average days on market this is the Sorrento Houston area, was 101 days of all the properties and 91 days for sold properties. So we're sitting there going, well, we really don't want to wait that 91 days. How can we present the property to get it sold in a quicker format? And I think one of them, looking at the way people were pricing, is price it right to start with. Just price it right to start with. Yeah, because there's a couple in there that were like a 1.18% change in price versus the 10%. So it goes to show you how by pricing right, it will help sell the house a lot faster. Sometimes you got to say to your client, no, you're nuts.
Do you want it to be sold or do you want it to be sitting here?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, when you sit there and you analyze the numbers overall, it really shows you, okay, what's the right way to do it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And right now, with the inventories increasing, it's interesting that you see a lot of stories. And I think sometimes it's just people, just wish list or just wanting, saying that we're still short on inventory.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're not. You know,
5 months of inventory doesn't feel short.
It doesn't feel short. And with the builder sitting on 8 months worth of inventory,
Mm-hmm.
you're not short. You're not short inventory. You're short affordability, but you're not short inventory. There's a difference. Huge difference overall. So, but that was everything. I think we hit everything in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Very concisely. So over the next week, I would love to just see it kind of level out. Just kind of,
just mellow.
Don't worry about every time Trump's going to have being asked questions. Which way the market's going to go.
Exactly.
Because we're coming up to the end of the month right now, and I think April's going to end up being a fairly good month from what I've seen and talked to from other people. I mean, how's your pipeline going overall?
I mean, April, ironically enough, as a company, we may set a company record since we opened in April.
Oh, congratulations.
So, part of that's we've added some team members, but, overall, we've seen a big uptick. Now, May, on the other side, is looking very interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's because it's always delayed 30 days.
Yep.
That's the thing.
Is May is impacted by the tariffs, whereas April wasn't. It was all before.
Yep. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. So please like, subscribe, and join us every week as we bring you up to date and keep you informed on everything that's going to affect the housing market here in Orlando. Thank you again, Joe. And we'll see you next week on the Orlando Real Estate Buzz. Take care.
All right, rock it, guys.